All right, in regards to the matter at hand, affecting the young people and how youth activism and the need for the young people to be part of the revolving political structure of a nation, it's very paramount to begin by stating that approximately in Africa, we are looking at approximately 1.4 billion people in the continent of Africa. 60% of those people happen to be a young generation that is approximately 25 and below. Narrowing it down to Kenya specifically, between 35 and below is approximately 74% of Kenya, simply meaning that we are the new powerhouse of this generation. A government ignoring the young people is ignoring what needs to change a generation, and therefore this particular morning, in my point of view, it is very paramount that we discuss issues affecting the nation without neglecting the young people, to attempt to build an ecosystem around change, economic change, policy change, ministerial change, whether church or any religious structure, without seeing the need to build around the young people is actually a sinking ship. And therefore, personally, myself as John C.W., I would like to begin by stating these particular facts. If you look at the likes of Martin Luther King, he was in his 30s when he started to pioneer, actually late 20s when he started to pioneer and champion change. If you look at men like Sankara in Burkina Faso, he was in his early 30s when he started to pioneer change. Talk about our generation today, men like Traore, you find that he's in his early 30s when he's pioneering change. And therefore, the greatest actually among them all, who is our Lord Jesus Christ, was in his 30s when he started to pioneer change. What does that mean? Young people, we are the change Africa is looking for. Without us, there is no negotiation for change on the table. But again, the greatest book to have ever been written, which happens to be the Bible, states, and I quote in the book of Timothy, do not allow anyone to neglect or despise the youth. Why? Because we are the hope of that generation. But again, to the young people, set an example. If you are young people, repeat these words after me. My job is to set an example. We can actually bear witness that we are not setting a good example. If you go to TikTok, abuses are coming from young people. If you talk about what the Constitution actually suggests, which is the right of picketing in any nation, you see that the people that are burning down offices, the people that are, breaking down into shops, they are not elderly people, they are young people. They actually don't even have white beards. So our job as young people, in as much as we want to be heard, we will need to have what you call active politics that is not necessarily geared and centered around hooliganism. Young people, I repeat again as I finish, it is paramount that we do our leadership without involving hooliganism. You don't need to break down someone's shop in order to pass your agenda. You don't need to be destructive in order to pass your agenda. And by the way, I will need to say this as my last point. It is very possible for the next leader of this nation to be in his 30s. You did not clap there. So you have an issue with young leadership. And I'm happy that the governor is here. It is very possible for the young people to be the next leaders of this nation. But it will begin by setting a good example. Can you repeat again, young people? My job is to set a good example. So leaders will not fear you if you set a good example. Businesses will not fear you if you set a good example. But for the longest period, passing our information around politicians, if you look at politicians especially, when they go to look for people, goons and everything, do you see them looking for people in their 70s or 60s? No, because to the young person is strength and to the old person is wisdom. And when wisdom and strength come together, you have a nation that can change. Thank you very much.
Before you hand over, do you have any advice you could give young people about deconstructing the barriers that prevent them from getting into political office?
Number one, should it cost to look for a good leader? I know it costs, but should it cost? Now let me explain to you why it's expensive to get a leader in Kenya. It's because it's not yet a revolution. The cheapest way to bring people into leadership Poverty in Kenya is poverty in Uganda, is poverty in Nigeria. I've been to most nations in Africa. So what we are discussing here, the paramount concept here for exactly. So if you talk about bad governance, I've been to Nigeria, you still experience bad governance. I've been to Rwanda, I've been a missionary in Ghana, different parts of the nation. So what we are speaking about here is not necessarily centered around Kenya. If you look at it from that point of view, and this is why I began by saying, first of all, we need to accredit the fact that the most needed power in the house to make any leader, to make any governor, the governor is here, he can let us know, or to make any president or whatever, is paramount to young people. Approximately 74%, as I've started by telling you that approximately Africa has around 1.4 billion people. 60+% are 25 years and below. So what does that mean? It simply means that this is an African issue. Poverty in Kenya, actually, if you go to Rwanda, is still poverty. Why? Because it all narrows down to bad governance. So the question now you have asked, what can we do to make sure that, we spearhead all this energy towards the right direction? And that's why I've started by asking, should it cost to make a leader in Africa? Should it cost? I'm asking you young people, should it cost you? But why is it costing you? It's me and you young people that are bad, because you are selling what needs to change. And that's why if you sell your need to change, only people that have money can buy it. And we all know it's not always people with money. It's not always people with money that purport to be good leaders. Are you hearing what I'm saying? How much money did it cost Traore to become the leader? How much money did it cost Sankara to become the leader? How much money did it cost John C.W. to become the little leader that I am? By the way, I need to say this. I'm assuming you're from Kenya, so maybe you would understand what I mean by saying I was a matatu conductor, public transport conductor, at 16 years. I left there, I became a matatu driver. Young people, you have no reason, and this is why I think I'm one of the best reasons to be on this platform, because you will not sit and say, you are old. What will you say about John C.W.? I understand, and that's why I did not build what I have through stealing from people. It's taking time, and unfortunately with young people, we do not take time to build. We want TikTok, we want fast come, fast serve. We want everything today, today, today. Lastly, I will need to say this especially to the older generation. You will need to understand, and this is an African problem, Your Excellency. African leadership does not believe in passing down. We die in power. And this is why we have an African problem. Why? Because unless you take power, power will never be given to you. So it is high time that if the older generation of leaders understand, and the best thing any leader should understand, the best awakening that you can come to is to know you are not here forever. So pass down the baton when it needs be, because a great leader is known by how much his leadership still echoes even long after he's gone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. John C.W.